After a while, he released his hand and said, "It feels like ordinary steel. It should be a steel bar. The length is around 35 meters." Tang Mo looked up and examined the steel bar. Li Miao Miao had become accustomed to her captain status. She realized, the Black Tower suddenly issued a branch mission and asked us to enter Schrodinger's steel fortress. This forest is called Schrodinger's steel forest. We should stay in it and not look for the exit. Then the steel fortress, Li Miao Miao stopped and didn't say anything else. She raised her head and looked at the huge steel tray above her head. Zhao Ziafei also looked carefully at the steel tray obscuring the sky and gulped nervously. The blonde man pushed down his hat and smiled. Zhao Ziafei said, "We have been in the forest for so long and only triggered the branch mission after coming here. Then the steel fortress must be around here. Then, is it right above our heads?" It was a question but her tone sounded certain. "It should be here. Let's go up." Tang Mo didn't deny Zhao Ziafei's words. There was a 90% probability that the steel fortress was on the tray about their heads. The steel bars were dozens of meters long and the platform, tray, that was propped up covered hundreds of square meters. It covered the red moon in the sky and cast a huge shadow on the ground. If the steel castle were here then it was likely to be on the platform. There was enough S.P.A.ce and they couldn't see what was on it. It could only be here. Without further ado, Li Miao Miao replaced Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo as the captain and communicated with Zhao Ziafei and Grisha. She adapted to the role quickly as she touched the steel bars. They are ordinary bars. I am used to climbing trees so climbing these steel poles should be no problem. Shall I climb up first? Zhao Ziafei said, "I haven't climbed a pole before but I should be able to do it." She looked at Grisha. The handsome mixed-race man raised his head to reveal a gentle and elegant face. His wrists moved and he hung his cane from his waist. "Of course, I am duty-bound to help if there is a lady who needs help." He looked at all the people present including Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo. Tang Mo said, "I have no problem." Fu Wenduo stood coldly to the side, as if he didn't know Tang Mo and Li Miao Miao. His gaze swept over the smiling Grisha and he replied lightly, "No problem." No one knew the dangers that would arise from climbing the poles. Originally, Tang Mo intended to let Fu Wenduo go first but Li Miao Miao said, "It doesn't matter. It is difficult for normal things to kill me. I can escape if there is an incident. I'm also good at climbing trees." Tang Mo understood what she meant and didn't stop her. He had seen Li Miao Miao's powerful healing ability. Unless it was an instant fatal blow, she would surely escape. The cold wind blew through the steel forest. The female doctor took a deep breath before slowly letting it go. She stepped forward and pressed her hands against the steel poles. Then she raised her right foot and her body wrapped around the steel pole. In just 3 seconds, she climbed up 5 meters. After seeing that she wasn't in any danger, the other woman sighed with relief and stepped forward to start climbing the pole. Zhao Ziafei had never climbed a pole before. She clumsily grasped it and used his limbs to slowly climb up. After seeing her climb 10 meters safely, Tang Mo stepped forward and prepared to climb the pole. He was just about to touch the pole when he heard a loud cry from above his head. Tang Mo quickly looked up. Fu Wenduo frowned and reached out to catch Zhao Ziafei's falling body. Suddenly, a black figure flashed past Tang Mo's side. The thin pole trembled slightly as a figure in red climbed the pole at a very fast speed in the dim moonlight. Grisha reached out quickly and grabbed the short-haired woman who fell down, holding her around the waist. Zhao Ziafei was also very startled. As a player who cleared the Black Tower's first floor, she wouldn't be hurt by falling from this height. She only lost her footing because she had never climbed a pole before. In the silent and empty steel forest, Li Miao Miao heard a cry and looked down. "Are you okay?" In the middle of the pole, Grisha was holding onto the pole with one hand while holding the short-haired woman with his other hand. He looked down at the woman who hadn't reacted yet and smiled gently. "My lady, do you need any help?" Zhao Ziafei gradually reacted. She had to go up anyway so she didn't refuse the other person's help. She directly said, "Thank you." In the tense and dangerous tower attack game, no one had the heart to talk about love. Zhao Ziafei didn't show any female shame. She stared at the foreign man and didn't hide her vigilance. Grisha wasn't angry at her indifferent reaction. He just smiled more brightly. He climbed the pole much faster than Zhao Ziafei. Despite one hand holding onto the woman, he was soon behind Li Miao Miao. It was like gravity completely disappeared under his feet. He didn't climb the pole but simply walked on it, as if it was flat ground. On the ground, Tang Mo watched it and his eyes narrowed. A moment later, Tang Mo looked at Fu Wenduo. The two people understood each other's meaning. Fu Wenduo also had this intention. He stepped forward and held the steel pole in one hand. His feet kicked at the ground and he shot up like a rocket. Tang Mo watched carefully from below. Once Fu Wenduo caught up with the person in the rear, Tang Mo's mouth twitched slightly. He stepped forward and climbed up the pole. Half a minute later, the 5 people safely reached the top of the tray. The moment Tang Mo's feet touched the platform, a child's voice was heard in their minds. Ding dong! The branch mission 1, Enter Schrodinger's steel fortress has been completed. Li Miao Miao was startled. This is the steel fortress? It is more like a steel castle. On the flat and S.P.A.size platform, a steel building resembling an European castle stood. The dark castle was surrounded by high walls. There was a steel gate in front of them and the red moonlight shone on the castle and gate, reflecting a cold L.U.S.Tur. In the bitter wind, Tang Mo suddenly heard the sound of footsteps. He pressed a hand to the small parasol and watched the mysterious castle in a wary manner. There was the creak of the door opening and a figure gradually emerged from the castle. The group took out their weapons and stared at this mysterious man, ready to attack. The mysterious man walked out of the castle towards the gate. He was a middle-aged man in a black tuxedo. His hair was meticulously combed and a thick layer of hair oil was applied to it. He held an old Phos.H.I+1 oil lamp in his hand as he walked towards the 5 humans. Once he was 5 meters away from the gate, Tang Mo and the others saw him clearly and he also saw the 5 players. The middle-aged man who looked like a housekeeper paused before continuing to move forward. He took out a key and opened the steel gate. The 5 players were still standing in place, looking at him cautiously. No one entered. The middle-aged man bowed slightly and spoke in a monotonous tone, "Welcome to Schrodinger's steel fortress." The 5 players standing outside the gate didn't move. 3 minutes later, the middle-aged man bowed again and repeated in the same tone, "Welcome to Schrodinger's steel fortress." Li Miao Miao raised an eyebrow at Tang Mo, asking him what to do next. Tang Mo acted like he didn't see anything. She looked at Fu Wenzhou in a depressed manner and he also ignored her. Li Miao Miao was speechless as she looked between the 2 men towards the middle-aged man. After another 3 minutes, the middle-aged man bowed and repeated again, with an identical voice and expression, "Welcome to Schrodinger's steel fortress." Li Miao Miao suddenly understood. "Wait, are you a robot?" Zhao Ziafei also found an abnormality. "Yes, every time he talks, his voice and expression are exactly the same." The middle-aged man spoke in a stiff voice. "I'm not a robot." Li Miao Miao asked, "Then are you an underground person?" The middle-aged man bowed his head and didn't look directly at the players. "This is Schrodinger's steel fortress, not the underground kingdom." Soon, 3 minutes past said again and the middle-aged man once again said, "Welcome to Schrodinger's steel fortress." Everyone looked at each other. The middle-aged man was ready to say it for a 5th time when the players finally walked into the mysterious castle. The middle-aged man closed his mouth, stood quietly to one side and bowed. "Please come in." Once the 5 people entered the gates, he walked in front of them with the oil lamp. The 5 people entered the door of the castle one by one, with Tang Mo being the last person. As soon as he entered, there was a loud bang and the door closed behind them. Zhao Ziafei shouted, "What are you doing?" In the dark castle, only the oil lamp in the housekeeper's hand emitted a light. Fu Wenzhou's right hand became a weapon while Tang Mo pulled out the small parasol and prepared to attack the middle-aged housekeeper. Before the 2 men attacked, they stopped their movements and slowly turned to look at the dark castle corridor. It was unknown when Grisha had grabbed his short cane again. He held the short stick in his right hand and raised his left hand to his hat. The blue eyes blinked and Grisha cried out sincerely, "Wow, a cute baby." In the black castle, a pair of green eyes stared at the 5 humans. Li Miao Miao saw these gloomy eyes and gulped. She was preparing to ask Tang Mo to turn on the flashlight to take a look when she closed her mouth. In the deadly cold castle, pairs of green eyes appeared out of nowhere. The overwhelming green eyes stared from every corner of the castle at the 5 humans who entered. If they moved even a little bit then the eyes would follow. Li Miao Miao felt numb for the first time. She got goosebumps and the hairs on her body raised. She didn't want to face these green eyes but when she looked down, she felt that they were all staring at her. Li Miao Miao pulled out a scalpel and was ready to kill these green eyes. At this time, a sharp sound was heard. This sound appeared without warning and Li Miao Miao, who was the most timid, stepped back in a scared manner, almost knocking down the middle-aged housekeeper's oil lamp. Then lights suddenly turned on for a moment and the entire castle was illuminated. In the S.P.A.Si's castle, hundreds of black cats filled every corner of the room, staring coldly at the 5 players standing by the door. Suddenly, the first cat opened its mouth and made a sharp meowing sound. Next, another black cat opened its mouth. The sounds that filled the castle were like nails scratching on glass, causing the players to cover their eyes. Only the middle-aged housekeeper was accustomed to it as he kept staring coldly. After a long time, the cat's screams abruptly stopped. Ding dong. Triggered branch mission 2, find Schrodinger's cat. The rules of the game: first, Schrödinger keeps only one cat. Second, Mr. Cat loves cleanliness and is very unsociable. Third, every 3 hours, a bowl of cat food will appear in the center of the castle's hall. Beat the greedy underground person who is guarding the cat good to obtain it. Schrödinger's cat loves cat food. The great Schrödinger angered his cat down. As a qualified remover of feces, Schrödinger is thinking about how to appease his cat. Perhaps a bowl of delicious cat good is the most powerful prop. Added a KO5 for the people asking for an alternative to Patreon. You can also join my Discord channel to chat with fellow readers about the novels.